Yeah.
Let's go to a team that does have more sizzle. And you know I love Sam Darnold. In fact, I made a claim yesterday.
Okay.
This is a little bit of hubris, but there's only one American that didn't like Zach Wilson or Daniel Jones and loved Darnold. 3 for 3 on New York quarterbacks, but let's not get into that. Let's get into this.
That's true.
Let's get into this. What do? They draft a quarterback. They get Daniel Jones. Sam Darnold can leave. How in the world he and Justin Jefferson right now are the tandem in the league? If you're Minnesota, do you let him walk?
All right, so this is a complex question that deserves a complex answer. But first, it is, Christmas Eve. So my first gift to you should be, I choke on the words a bit, but I might owe you an apology because I have mocked you publicly, privately, via text, on TV, via Twitter, any medium, for your Sam Darnold love affair for the whole time I've known you.
Yes.
For 7 years. And it would appear that this rose has finally bloomed, and you never gave up. And this is the fact that you never gave in on him, and now the play you just showed is the single best play of that young man's career.
Yeah.
Like the 1 seed still available for them, trailing against a team fighting for its playoff life, climb in the pocket, throw a perfect pass through double coverage to one of the best receivers I've ever seen in Justin Jefferson. So you deserve credit. Here is, though, the answer. I think his future with the Vikings is going to be determined, fair or not. I just think what's going to happen, it's going to be determined by the playoff run. Because if they could finish 14-3 and all of a sudden be on the road in Los Angeles in round 1. Like that, because they'd be the 5 seed if they don't win out. And that's a losable game. And even if that doesn't happen, I think that the Vikings' plan right now is to franchise Darnold and see if someone wants to give them a great draft pick for him and roll with JJ with the faith of, hey, maybe Colin was mostly right about Darnold. However, we have gotten a 13-win season out of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
We just got a 13-plus win season out of Sam Darnold. We think JJ has more natural talent than those guys, and he's incredibly cheap. Now, if they were to end up in the Super Bowl, then I think you've got to do the Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers thing from 20 years ago, which is even though you drafted the replacement, you keep the veteran for 1 more season, probably on the franchise tag, and let him start next year and then figure it out from there.
Yeah.
But I honestly think anything short of the Super Bowl, they franchise and trade. I think with a Super Bowl appearance, they franchise and play. I don't think they're going to give him a long-term extension.
It's pretty funny when you think about someone who has been so wrong on Sam Darnold and then seeking the opinion about Sam Darnold, right? Like it makes me always laugh when people do that. And it's not to say that you can't be wrong and then still be right about a various opinion, but it's just, it's the way in which you can be wrong sometimes. Like when like Nick just kept going and going and going against Sam, like just ripping him and ripping anyone who believes him to be even remotely good, ripping them as he just said, making fun of Colin. And now it's kind of like, it's one thing if you had doubts and like, I'm not so sure, I don't really think. But even when Sam was now playing great and proving to be great, still pushing back. And now that he's reached this level, you're like, yeah, I think they're going to move on from him and this, that. And it's just like, whatever. So the whole thing with Sam Darnold, again, this is the benefit of having Kevin O'Connell. It's what Kevin O'Connell wants. That's what it needs to come down to. It can't be the GM, can't be the owner, can't be anyone else. It's what does Kevin O'Connell want? And JJ McCarthy is really young. And so that's the luxury. And so you can literally sit him for a couple years and he still won't be as old as Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels. So you can let this ride for a minute or two with Sam Darnold. And that makes perfectly sense. Don't assume, like, just because you've had some success in years past, like with someone like a Kirk Cousins, like, this is different. Sam Darnold is playing better than Kirk Cousins. And I'm a huge fan of Kirk Cousins. Yeah, he kind of fell off the cliff with injuries and age. But Sam Darnold is way more mobile. He's younger. He's healthier. He's bigger, stronger. He's only had like 1 year, really, with like a legitimate like offensive head coach where they're like actually putting the attention into him. Remember, Kirk Cousins was a starter, and I defended his lack of success with teams like the Commanders because that was like a mess of an organization and a mess of a coaching staff. I think Kirk Cousins actually would have had a much more successful career had he like gone with the Minnesota Vikings earlier on. But still, he still had a lot of years behind him of semi-successful years. Sam did not have that luxury. Sam got drafted to an absolute disaster of a franchise. And then the Panthers, and then the backup with the 49ers. It's one thing if he had a year with the 49ers, then I would say, and then this was now his second, his next year with the Vikings. Now we're kind of really seeing who Sam Darnold is baked into it. There's reason to believe that Sam Darnold still has some more room to grow. So let's say he's a 13, and you can't really look at it like this for any quarterback, for any team, whatever. But let's just keep it real basic. Let's just say Sam Darnold is a 13-win quarterback. It's not written anywhere that next year he's not a 14, 15-win quarterback. I believe he will continue to grow and evolve. I believe that Kevin O'Connell and Sam Darnold's relationship is growing and evolving. Kevin O'Connell needs to continue to learn more and more from Sam. Sam needs to continue to learn more and more from Kevin O'Connell. It's the way these things work. It's a living and breathing relationship, both on the field and off the field. So don't assume that you're just going to be able to move on from Sam Darnold and have J.J. McCarthy be able to just step up where Sam leaves. It's not that simple. It's not that straightforward. Not to mention, if you have a roster that's clearly great and good enough to be competing for the number 1 seed, that team is not going to want to go through the ups and downs of having a rookie quarterback. We talk about Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels being able to start off from the jump. Those teams are not in a position to be like, I don't want to deal with the rookie quarterback, the ups and downs. They're not in a position for that because their team was not good enough, and those quarterbacks elevated that team. But if you have a great roster right now with great coaching staff, great coordinators, big time players like Justin Jefferson, you're not going to want to go through some of those, learning curves that you have to do with a rookie quarterback. It's a significantly harder sell. And he will struggle as a young first-year starter. He just will. We know that. That's what happens to every quarterback under the sun. They will struggle. They will have their issues. So you're only going to have so many more years where you do have a Justin Jefferson in his prime. And you get to have this kind of combination of a few other players in there. So when you have that roster, you might just want to say, you know what? This is what we can maximize. Kind of what happened with the Packers years ago with Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love absolutely would have struggled. I mean, he sat for years for a reason. Aaron Rodgers was going to have significantly more success from the jump than Jordan Love. But then when things started to settle, when that Super Bowl window closed with Aaron in it, they were like, okay, we can move on from Aaron and now we can bring up Jordan Love. And now in that first season with Jordan Love being a starter, it was okay to go through all those growing pains because it wasn't like, dude, this is a Super Bowl roster. We just need our quarterback to be good. You would have that feeling right now with the Vikings. You would have that feeling. And it's one thing if this has been a Super Bowl roster and Sam Darnold has been kind of like a weak link and been holding them back. And then you're like, well, we just need a better quarterback. Kind of similarly now what happened with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. Like that's also a kind of a different layer. They needed their quarterback to truly elevate them to get them to that next level. That's what Patrick Mahomes was. And again, he still sat for a year. And the tough thing is, with J.J. McCarthy technically sitting for a year, he hasn't really because he was injured and was recovering. And so much of his time spent was not being able to like really play football even in practice and you know, and really being able to do that. His primary focus was recovering and rehabbing his knee. So you lose out. It's not like he really was able to truly sit for a year and learn and grow and evolve. So I think so much is trying to figure out what Sam Darnold wants, what he's willing to take, what he's willing to do. How much money is in his mind? Is he like, I played great, give me 65 million? You know, I don't think he is going to say that, but I mean, who honestly knows? I don't think so. Is he the type of person who's like, yeah, man, I'll sign a 2-year, $35 million contract or $40 million contract? I mean, like, I really don't know. None of us do. I think that's what you should look at. Because I think you would definitely want Sam Darnold for another year. Sure, it's a little bit easier to move on from Sam if you get blown out in the first round and Sam throws 2 picks and everyone's like, see, I told you Sam Darnold was a pumpkin. So I do agree with Nick that so much of the of kind of like where the winds will blow will depend on what they do in the playoffs. But I'm not so sure that's what it should be, quite frankly. I'm not so sure about that. And that's why when you kind of can go in so many different directions with this, if the ownership and GM, anyone who's truly making those decisions is smart enough, they will just say, Kevin, this is why we hired you. This is why we trust you. We have the utmost respect for you in this franchise. What do you want? And if it ends up being the wrong decision, at least it was made by the right guy. And that's I'm okay with. Because you don't want an owner being like, we drafted JJ, he's supposed to start, get Sam out of it. Like, you don't want that. That's where things go wrong and go awry. And that, not to mention, it was Andy Reid who was like, move on from Alex Smith, get me Patrick Mahomes. Not only get me Patrick Mahomes, but we're going to sit him for a year. Like, that was Andy Reid's doing. Trust the coach. Trust the guy who's gotten you this far to bring it home for you. Kevin O'Connell has gotten you to the 95-yard line. Trust that he knows how to get into the end zone. And I wish we had the ability to really be able to get like true, honest conversation, because we never will. Never will. But it would be so awesome to be able to get like, I would love if you were best friends with Kevin O'Connell, you'd be like, tell me. Like, what do you really want right now? Like, what do you want? I'd love to know. Truly, I'd love to know. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Sam Darnold? Do you think it's clear that he's a franchise quarterback? If you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, do you want to stick with Sam Darnold? Do you want to move on from him? Kind of what are you thinking? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.